Hi everybody, it's Annamarie and I'm here today to paint with you a design called Beak Your Bust. It's a flamingo, a palm tree, and an umbrella that's in the back of the truck. So we're going to have fun today painting with our Dynasty brushes and our DecoArt acrylics. I hope you'll enjoy it. This is the design. It's so pretty in pink and a black background, and I thought, oh, that would be really nice to paint and to show you some really different techniques in it using the Dynasty faux sable, the 1 inch, the 1/2 inch faux sable, and the 3/4 faux sable rake. And those are the brushes that we're going to be using along with our script liner in black gold, number 1, our number 10 black gold by Dynasty. It's a flat brush, and I have a little tiny 5-0 black gold Dynasty liner as well for doing the little detail on the eyes. We'll also be doing some stenciling with the Dynasty Stencil Pro, and we'll be using our 1/2 inch. All of those brushes are on my website at www.annamarieokedesigns.com. And also the black gold flats are on Jilly Bean's website at www.jillybean.net. And she has a large selection of the black gold flats and the small little tiny liners. So you can also go on her website and see about the brushes. I am using Americana by DecoArt. They have a lot of really nice soft colors for 2020, and I thought it'd be pretty exciting to use some of them. This piece is designed, this is the original, and it's designed on a pizza pan. It's a 16-inch pizza pan. I have the, you get it at Walmart. This is at the Dollarama or wherever. And we're going to use the back portion of the pizza pan, okay? I'm going to show you how to prep the pizza pan and for the nice surface to the tissue paper surface. And then I will demo the piece on canvas so that it'll be easier to see and not so much glare. So I'm just going to put my original piece over here for a moment on my stand, and we're going to place our pizza pan right there, and I'm going to place this here so I can see it. There we go. So we start with a pizza pan just as it is, no base coating. We just use decoupage, DecoArt Americana decoupage. I like the matte finish. It adheres to the tissue paper really nicely, and it gives us a nice matte finish. Get my water here, and we'll pour a little on our palette and clean around your edge so that it doesn't stick. Okay, there we go. And put our cover on. Okay, we'll put a nice full coverage of this matte decoupage. And make sure you go down around the sides. I always like to add a little bit of water to my brush just to it gets a little sticky, so to keep it the flow nice. And I went right to the very edge because your tissue paper is going to go right to the edge. There we go. And I'm completely covering my whole surface of my pizza pan. And I'm then going to take a piece of tissue paper. This is ordinary gift wrap. I'm using black. You could use white as well if you were doing a lighter background. I'm using black because my background is going to be painted black. So Looks easier. I take one sheet and I ball it into a ball and unfold it. Okay, and I place it on my surface, on my pizza pan. And I kind of just spread out with my hands a little. You're going to have wrinkles. That's all part of the package and parcel, okay? I'm then going to take my faux sable again, my large faux sable, and completely cover my pizza pan and my tissue paper again with the matte finish. Okay, I'm going to pour a little bit more on my palette paper and clean around my edge. There we go. And you're going over your surface of your pizza pan. This is a great sealer. The decoupage is a glue, a finish, a sealer, and it's awesome. These pieces can be hung outside in the weather. I even took a large nail to try to see if it would come off with the bad weather. And no, it's really durable for outside on your doors or on your decks, on your patio. Okay, so we have our piece adhered and fully covered with the decoupage. Now I'm going to hold my piece up like I would, my hand underneath, like you'd hold a pizza, and with the water, I'm going to go right around the edge and tear off the excess, like so. And I'm just going with water on my brush, and I'm tearing it off. You may tear a little bit around the edge, but it's fine. We're going to cover that with the chocolate gesso, and that'll be a nice finish. There we go. Get nice and wet. And the gift wrap that, just your tissue paper gift wrap at the Dollar Tree or the Dollarama, it's very thin, but it does the trick, and it's not hard to get off. There we go. And there's our pizza pan ready to apply the chalky gesso. So I'll now, I don't have to wait for this to dry. I'm just going to go with my chalky gesso, and I'm using the black. This is a really nice coverage, and I like the way it looks. It's a nice silicone feel to it and very nice to paint on. I'm adding the chalky gesso right to my spot that I had my decoupage on. I'm fine with that. Put my cover back on. There we go. Now with my same large faux sable, I'm going to completely cover my pizza pan. You're seeing the wrinkles and the texture, and this looks really nice as it dries. The decoupage dries perfectly clear, which helps too. It just gives it a really nice coverage and a really nice surface, gives your piece a nice surface. Any little spots, especially around the edge, don't worry about it, because when we finish, you can always go around and do the touch-ups, okay? So we're not going to worry about that. And there we go. So that's, I only use one coat of the chalky gesso because I'm using the black tissue paper, and that helps to cover my surface. Okay, there we go. So we're going to put that aside and just let it dry. Takes probably about 20 minutes to half an hour to dry thoroughly. So I usually like to do probably 2 or 3 while I'm at it, and then, you know, you can paint a couple designs. So for our project, I used my white graphite tracing paper, and I'm using 11 by 14 canvas, and I'm going long ways. You could have used it this way if you wanted to, but I had my line drawing here off the truck, and I used the white graphite, and I just placed it down. I came up about 2 inches from the bottom, and the side I came even with my paper right on the side. So the hub is there, okay? I just placed my carbon underneath and I traced out my pattern. I then took my line copy and I flipped it over, as you can see here, and I positioned it and continued to trace out my my truck. So on this piece, where it's smaller than the pizza pan, okay, the pizza pan is 16 inches across, so it would be wider. I made my truck extended a little wider. So on this particular one, I came in a little bit, and it's okay because our line drawing off our flamingo and things fits right on it, right across. So there we go. The very first thing we're going to do is, since this is a black background, I want us to use our 1/2 inch flat, or faux sable 1/2 inch flat, and I'm going to base coat my truck with the Cover Off Warm White, okay? And it's the Deco Art Americana Warm White. Just gonna get a little bit of a clean palette there. There we go. And just start our colors. Better make sure you put the covers back on things because you'll have a spill. Okay. So you dry off your brush and load with your 1/2 inch faux sable flat. And I'm going to give it a nice coverage. Now, I'm not aiming to completely cover, okay? It's okay if you see the bit of the black through it. It's just giving it a little bit of a coverage, so when we apply the pink shade, you'll only need probably 2 coverages instead of 3 or 4. You want to see the dark background. Okay, so I'm just using the side of my bristles as a measure, and those brushes work so well. And they're my go-to brushes. I like to call them my go-to brushes because I use them for all of my acrylics, and I just love them. So I'm making the rectangle box here off the truck. You can see I am doing this truck in sections, right? The top part, the frame of the truck. Now I'm doing the rectangle. If you find that where your area that you're painting in is a little dry, always go into your water with just a little peck of water, and that'll help spread the paint a lot better. Okay, now the bottom part of that truck, the tailgate, I guess we'll call it, this portion right here, we're not going to base coat that because that's going to be like a black and white grayish look to it. But I do want to base coat my hubs on the sides there. Just give it a base coat. and come over here and give it a base coat. Here we go. So, and you can see that it's just a loose coat, loose coverage. I didn't aim to cover. I just wanted to give it a nice loose coverage. Okay. Looks like our top portion here is dry, so we're going to begin to paint in our truck. And we're going to use, which is a beautiful color, coral coral blush. And it's the Deco Art Americana, and it's a really pretty color of coral that we're going to paint our truck. Okay. We're going to use our 1/2" faux sable again, and we're just going to base coat over the top portion of the truck. You can see that by painting the undercoat with a bit of white coverage, it really covers so well. Actually, I don't even think we need to do a second coverage on it. We'll see when we're finished here. It just covers so well. And that is the coral blush. Love the colors. Makes us feel that summer is coming this year more than any year, I guess. Okay, you can see the nice bright. It almost looks like my top I have on today. It's a coral color, beautiful color. Nice and bright. And if you go out over the edge a little bit, it's okay. Alrighty. And yeah, I don't think we need a second coat for that. That seems like it's covering really well. If you did need a second coat, go ahead and add a second coat, or you can do the rectangle square of your truck first and then do that after. So we're just going to base coat the rectangle portion of the truck, and it dries on the canvas really fast. I notice the temperature here must be nice and warm in the house, not out of the house, because it's still pretty cold. Okay, here we go. And I'm just base coating. I'm doing the truck in sections. As you can see, I just didn't do here and there. I wanted it to look, you can see the separation. Okay. And turn your piece around, whatever feels more comfortable for you to paint. Don't be afraid to turn your piece around to suit you. There we go. And some nice long strokes. Okay, we'll let that dry out a bit. We may need a little bit of a second coat there. We'll have to see. Right here, we're going to do the hubs. Fill those in, and they covered quite well. So we're good with that. And the other hub. Okay. Here we go. Okay. I think we're going to do another coverage on the rectangle portion. I'm just going to use my heat gun and plugged in, of course, for it to work. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to give it another cover of the coral blush. Very nice, pretty color for the truck. Okay, a little bit there probably. And I think we're good for that. Give your brush just a little rinse. Okay. And I have some clean water here. Which I'm going to use for my shading. Okay. Okay, here we go. Now for the shading on our truck, we're going to do the shading first. Okay, I'm just going to bring back my original piece here. I'd like to do all the shading, the stenciling on the truck, and the little bit of highlighting here and there before I add my things that are in the truck, okay? Because your background, it'll be completed, and then you'll just have to concentrate on your things that are in the truck, okay? It's a lot easier to paint it that way. Background, bring to foreground. So our back of our truck, we're going to shade with a beautiful color called Antique Rose. This was in my paint stash, and I just love it for shading pinks and things. But if you, and you may have it in your stash, if you don't have it, you can do a mix with Georgia clay and just a touch of the burgundy wine. And I'm going to be mixing it up after I do this. And when I put it on my pattern, I'll be telling you exactly if it's 2 to 1 or 1 to 1, but it's Georgia clay and burgundy wine. And I'll let you know what the ratio is on that, because it's a wonderful color for shading pinks. I'm just loving it. Okay, leave that there. And we'll take our number 10 or our a 1/2 inch flat, and we're going to shade with that, okay? So we dab it on our paper towel, corner into that Antique Rose and blend in one direction. I'm going to bring this over a little so we can see the blending. Blend back and forth. Here we go. And we'll come around. May add a little bit of water to blend it out. A little, there we go. And you can see how really nicely that shades. I'm going to go right around my truck on the outside, down so far as there. Wet my brush again, corner, blend, and let's flip our brush over and go over the inside of the frame of the truck. Okay. I'm also going to shade those hubs next to the rectangle piece of the truck. Okay, we're going to shade that with the Antique Rose as well. So just corner and blend, and I'm going to come right straight down there. Kind of separates the hub from the tire hub from the rectangle portion. Okay, wet your brush, corner into that antique rose, and come down on the opposite side. Come around. Okay. Now if it's a little too heavy, you can just kind of come with a bit of water and smooth it out. I like a little bit of intensity with that color on the truck. Actually, it just kind of brings it out for me. Now, is our truck rectangle dry? If not, we'll heat it with the heat gun. You can, of course, when you're when you're doing this piece, you can wait for your piece to dry and whatever. You don't have to use a heat gun or a hair dryer or whatever. I like the heat gun. This one particularly, the Ranger one. It's it's very low. So here we go. So I'm going right around my rectangle portion of my truck. Same way, wet my brush, dab on a paper towel, and blend in one direction, back and forth, and around. There we go. And we'll do it again. Probably come over this way this time. There we go. Come down. With your brush and blend it. It really makes that base coat color, the coral blush, it really brings it out and pops out at you. Really looks nice. Okay, we'll rinse our brush. Now, what we're going to do next, while I'm waiting for this area here to dry, I'm going to paint the tailgate right here and put in the tires, okay? And we're going to do that with our number 10 or a number 8. I have an 8 here, but you can use the number 10 if you have it. 8 or 10, either or. I'm using an 8. Wet your brush, dab it, and let's do a lamp black and white. Okay, we'll put a little bit of lamp black on an area. Go, only a small bit, and our warm white. Okay, just going to move those brushes over here away a little bit. So I'm going to load my black gold flat, number 8 I'm using here, with the black. Okay, with the black. I'm then going to just take a little hint of that white, just kind of picked it up at the edge, and we're going to come right across, okay, for the tailgate, the whole width of the fender. So, of course, we ran out of white, so we'll load up with the black, swipe with a little bit of white, and come across again, the opposite direction. Okay, we're giving it a little bit of a, like a gray metal look to it, okay? So we're just very lightly coming back and forth. And that's all I did there, okay? I want that bit of white and black streakiness there. I like the look of that, okay? For my tires, and they're right here on the edges, we'll load up our same brush, number 8 flat, and into black, lamp black, swipe a little bit of the white, and now I'm going to come down 2, 3, I think it's 4 strokes with the width of the brush, okay? And same thing over here. Do the same thing, load up with lamp black, swipe through the white, warm white, 1, 2. I'm going to need a little bit more white for 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so those are the tires. So we'll rinse our brush. We're waiting for this to dry a little. I'm just gonna, I think if it's, the shininess is gone, so it's a little bit here, a little bit there. So we'll just wait a few more moments. I'm then going to trace the inner square. Okay, the piece that of the rectangle that you see the stencil on. Okay, so we'll do that next. So I take my ruler and my white chalk pencil, or you can use a piece of chalk, it's up to you. And I came in about, I say about, let's see, we've got a ruler here, let's measure it. Half an inch, am I saying? Yeah, a little less than half an inch, a little bit more than a quarter of an inch, okay? So I'm just going to make a line there. And the same thing over here, we came in same amount. Come around. Make sure you don't get a little bit of that white on your ruler as you're drawing your lines. And I did there, but I'm okay with that. I'll add a little bit of paint to cover up. That's part of the experience, is making boo-boos, right? There you go. So I am going to touch up that little bit there off the coral blush. There we go. Okay, so we just drew our inner portion that our stencil is going to go on. And for the stencil portion, I used the Crafters Workshop cookie and cake stencils. This one here, it's a swirl, and I have them in my studio and on my website. And it's just 5.5 by 5.5 swirls. The Crafter Workshop 5003. And it's a really nice swirl that you can see on that center portion there. Okay. Now, when I was getting ready for this today, I found another great one that we could use that I think I'm going to try out as well to see what it looks like, because we already know what it looks like on that one. So let's try this one. This is the Crafters Workshop Cookie and Cake Stencil, and it's called Flower Field. Reminds me of the 70s. Okay, so let's see what this one is going to look like. You can use any stencil you have. Polka dot one, which we'll be using on the umbrella, or anything that you have in a stencil. Okay, so I'm going to take it into plastic. We're going to be using our 1/2 inch Dynasty Stencil Pro, and I love this brush. I fell in love with it a couple years ago when they first had them come out. I love the thickness of the bristles, the velvety touch. So I played with it and I came up with a little technique to stencil. A lot of people, when they stencil, they tend to just add little bits of paint and tap. Okay, that causes leakage underneath your stencil. So what I do is this. We take our white or warm white, and I'll get a dry paper towel. Make sure you start off with a dry brush. We don't put this in water, okay? So we start with the dry brush, and I fully load into the warm white, okay? And I push back and forth, push that paint into that brush. I then take a dry paper towel and I wipe off the excess. Okay, I wipe off the excess so there's no leakage. I'm going to take my stencil and we can lay it on this particular stencil. They're really good because they've got outlined there. So something square, you can just place it on the lines and you're not going to get the stencil part over on your truck, okay? So we're just going to go to the field of flowers. We're going to go to the right, go to the left. There we go. To the right, to the left, and we're going to pick up our stencil. And there it is, very pretty. And we're going to come down here again, lining it up, and we're going to continue stenciling our truck, okay, the center portion. Okay. Oh, that looks really pretty. Looks really pretty. Okay. Now, I'm not going to wet my brush yet because I'm going to use this one for the umbrella. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet my brush or wet my paper towel, and I'm just going to lay my brush on that wet paper towel so it just doesn't get too dry. And we're going to lay it right there so we'll use it later. Okay, we're going to dry the stencil. It doesn't take very long for it to dry. The little portion there is I went a little bit heavy there, but I'm okay with that. Okay, because once we shade that, it'll cover it up really well. So the field of flowers or the swirls, it's your choice, or whatever stencil that you may have in your paint box. Okay. Now we're going to shade around, and I'll give you this as a reference again. We're going to shade outside of the line, okay, off that square. And we're going to shade with a black color, okay, lamp black, which we already have it poured, so we're fine. I'm using my 1/2" faux sable, corner into the black, and blend it out. I'm not using a lot, not as much as the Antique Rose, but I am blending it back and forth. And I'm going to come around this way and back again, adding a little bit of water to my brush for blending it out. Okay. And I'm going to come down here and come across. So that little bit of black, lamp black, goes a long ways. But if you happen to run out, it's no big deal. Just wet your brush, dab it, and corner, and blend. And come up around. There you go. If you want to intensify it, you can a little. Go around again. Just follow your markings that you just had, or your shadow that you just had, and go right around. I'm also going to shade on the frame of the truck, okay? I'm going to shade a little right here and right here. Now, this may be covered up a little with our sand in the truck or Flamingo, but just to give it a little bit of a separation, I am going to go around this portion of my truck and shade as well, okay? Over that Antique Rose we did, just because I wanted it to stand out a little bit more, okay? There we go. I also wanted to shade the hubs right here, come around the fender and down. So we'll flip our brush over. There should be enough on that, and there is. Lucky draw. There we go. Okay. Now, if you feel that your stencil is almost too white. We can always shade around with our half faux sable on the inside with the antique rose. Okay, that's just going to tone it down just a shade. There we go, just tones it down. And like I say, on the pattern, you'll see the exact ratio of the cranberry wine and the Georgia clay, okay? Because it's the antique rose is a beautiful color for shading pinks. Okay, now what I think I'll do next is take my script liner, and you can see on your photograph as well, I'm going to do just a few little outlines on the hub, just kind of around the truck a little and up around the frame. Because once our flamingo and umbrella and that goes traced on, we'll have all that background done, okay? And it'll be a lot easier than try to do line work and try to fit it in. I'm using my one script liner, black gold, and I love script liner. A lot of people use script, some use a shorter liner, whatever you're more comfortable with, okay? But I'll show you how I use my script liner. I wet my script liner, I go into my black, and I push my bristles, and I wiggle it around, bringing it out, making a nice, fine end of the script liner so you can do a nice thin line. I then go around my hub and around this one over here, and I probably go around that inner rectangle area just with it, and I hit and miss. You can see I'm not really going right on those lines. We also do a little bit of an outline on the inner framework and the outer framework. And if you went off your mark, you're okay. There's no need to worry. I'm also going to add a little, with the lamp black, a little bit of a handle for us there, okay? We're going to outline that fender as well down here with black, just to make it a little bit more interesting. And I think we're good. If you wanted to, you could probably add a few lines for your tires just to kind of finish some. Okay. Now, just going to let that dry, and we're going to get ready to trace off our flamingo, umbrella, and our palm tree. Okay. Got my line copy here for my flamingo and my amount of sand, flip-flops, and of course a margarita. Okay, so I'm laying the bottom portion off the line copy that you'll get in your pattern, right on the very edge of my truck, the back of my truck there, okay? So just about there is great. And like I say, if you use your pizza pan or a larger surface, you can extend it. Okay, I'm going to get my white graphite paper. We're going to trace okay, we're going to trace up our flamingo. And while I'm tracing it, I'm going to show you what parts I want you to trace out. The hat. The head on the flamingo and the beak. Okay, not the sunglasses and not the eye. Okay, I'm going to trace off her neck and her wing. I'm not going to trace off her bikini yet. Okay, her other wing and her underwing. And we can trace off her Margarita Glass. Okay. Can't go to the beach without a margarita. Okay, so I'm not going to do the line or I'm not going to do the umbrella. Okay, I'm just going to do her head, beak, her body portion, and her hat. I am going to position where I want to put that mound of sand. Okay, I'm not doing the flip-flops. I'm not going to do the palm tree, but I am going to do the umbrella. Okay, so we'll just trace over the umbrella. And it's on an angle. It looks like it's probably falling out of the truck, but it's not. Okay, so that's all we're going to do there for now. Just lay our piece there. Ready to trace off the rest of it. Okay. Now I can see it. Maybe I'll zoom in a little to show you. Just the, okay, right here is the flamingo, and right here is the umbrella. Okay, and the mound of sand. So that's roughly where I want it positioned. Okay. So, and first thing we're going to do is to paint the flamingo. Okay. I'm going to use the cactus flower, which is a very pretty pink. Just going to fold that over and get another piece of palette paper there. You go. So the cactus flower is a lighter side of pink. Okay, so if you have something close enough to that, would be great. But if not, you could add a little bit of white to your coral blush or a vintage pink. Vintage pink is another color too that I use a lot of. Okay, so any light pink. I'm going to use my number 8 flat, and I'm going to base coat the flamingo. Okay, so we can see here. I'll just get my line copy there so I can see. There we go. So her hat comes underneath, or her hat is coming over her head a bit there. And you can see the same thing here. I think what we'll do, we'll use a coverage of white as well, because we're base coating mainly on the darker color. So, and pink is a lighter color. So what we'll do, we'll just base coat with the white first and come around. Okay. Just get mine for reference here. Okay, I'm gonna stand my piece up here to make sure. There we go. And her body comes down. Those are her little tips on her wings. And I'm just giving it a coverage of warm white just because it's dark. And I'm not going in even strokes. I'm intentionally doing this on my flat and my chisel edge. Okay, I'm chiseling on a bit of the stroke work. Okay, just because it's feathers. And go, that's the beak part there. And over here is her belly. Okay, and she comes right down on top of that. She's right down on the inside of that truck. Okay, her legs are in the truck and she's kind of just propped up there. And over here as well. And I just made some choppy strokes going out on the chisel edge, okay, for the feathery strokes. So you can get to see her shape there now. Her beak comes in a moment and comes down around there. Okay, we are going to paint her first before we put in her beak. Also, I think what we'll do is base coat the Margarita Glass with a little bit of that warm white just for coverage, because we want a nice bubbly drink. Okay, there we go. So I think that will be fine. If we want to just let that dry, we can bounce over here and paint that umbrella while we're waiting on our flamingo to dry. So for the umbrella, I'm using Red Alert. Of course, I love red. Anyone that knows me, they know that I love red. It's my favorite color. And Red Alert is a very nice color that DecoArt has that is really good coverage, because sometimes it's very hard to get red to cover. Okay, I am going to switch into using my 1/2-inch faux sable, and I'm going to fully load, and I'm going to paint in my umbrella. Okay, we could have used white to cover, but I think we'll do a couple coats of red and we'll be fine. Okay, this is the under portion of the umbrella. Let that dry. Okay, we'll go back and we'll You know what? I think I am going to give that a cover of white. And that way it'll be covered and you see that beautiful red coloring. Okay, let's do that with the white. And now we're using the 1/2 inch faux sable to cover that umbrella. Because we're on a dark background, okay, mainly. If this was a white canvas or a lighter color, we would not have to do that. But it's okay. It's just gives us a little bit of practice time. Okay, so I'm going to pounce back here with my 8 flat, and I'm going to use the cactus flower again, and we're going to paint in the flamingo. Okay, so I'm going to load up my brush. Get that, make sure you shake your paint well. Sometimes if you haven't used it in a while, it's good to give it a good shake and to pour it out. There you go. And we're going with that pink. It's a little lighter color than the coral blush. Just makes it a little different color than the truck. So any color light pink you have will do good. And I want you to make sure that you use short strokes like I'm doing here. And we like a few little ripples and a few little dribbles, I guess, of paint. We're not getting a full coverage, okay? Here we go. But we are covering up the white base coat. Okay, here we go. And the arm again. And this little wing over here. I've never seen a real live flamingo. I'm hoping to see one for sure. Get on the beach and go down south and see, probably even in a zoo or whatever, to see them. I bet they're beautiful. Remind me of summertime. Here you go. Okay, so we'll let that dry. And we'll come back to our umbrella. And we're going to base coat the umbrella with the red alert. And there, that's much better. It's a nice coverage now. And we'll cover whole umbrella. Let it dry a little and add another coverage. Oh, I'm liking the truck, the feel of flowers on that. I really like that. It's nice. Okay. While we're waiting for the flamingo to dry, let's the pink portion, let's do the hat. And I'm using Mermaid Tail. Peacock teal is another color that you can use as well, but I just love Mermaid Tail. Reminds me of beach scenes and anything near the ocean, so I like that color. And I am going to use my number 8 flat, and I'm going to load up my Mermaid Tail, and I'm going to paint my hat. portion first. And then the under portion. Now we didn't need to base coat underneath with white with this one because it seemed to cover. Mermaid Tail is a color that's covering. We may need a second coat, but we'll be fine. Okay, so let that dry. Also, let me see, our red is still a little bit wet. So I think what we'll do is put in our sand area down here. Okay, so the colors I used for the sand are soft black, let me see, here we go. I use soft black. And I used a little bit of warm white. I will pour up another little bit of warm white. I'll show you my colors here now over soft black, warm white, asphaltum, which is a brown, a very nice shader color as well. And I'm also going to be using a little bit of the metallics, the dazzling metallics in soft or rich espresso. And I'm going to place that right here, which is a very nice rich color, and a little bit of the glorious gold. And these are in the dazzling metallics. Okay, and that's those two colors. I like those for in the sand. It gives a little bit of glitter, and we all know we love glitter, so that's what we're going to use. So we're going to go with the sand. I'm first going to, I'm going to be using my 1/2-inch faux sable, and I'm going to load into the soft black. And I'm going to touch a little bit of the white and make a little mixture here. Okay, soft black and white. And I'm just going to go into make my sand pile first. Okay, probably a little bit of soft black. And I'm kind of chiseling it. I'm not base coating like we did with the truck or the umbrella even. I'm using the chisel portion off my brush and I'm just chiseling it, almost like you can almost see a texture. Okay, I'm then going to keep my dirty brush. I'm going to keep my paint that's left on my brush, and I'm going to go into the darkest metallic that I've got there, which is the rich espresso, which is right here. And I'm going to corner into that, and I'm going to chisel that in. Okay, so you're just going to chisel a bit of that. It's going to make it look like probably there's seashells and stuff there. I'm then going to still work with the dirty brush, corner into my glorious gold, and do the same thing. Just add hints of that here and there. Okay. All righty. So we're just going to let that dry a little. We'll add the hints of the white and the highlight things after. And of course, we won't trace in our flip-flops yet or put the pole in yet, because we want that to look like it's in the sand pile or a palm tree. Okay, so we'll just let that set and we'll move on. We'll add another coat of Red Alert to our umbrella. We'll add another coat There we go. This is going to be a good coverage now for the umbrella. So base coating the umbrella with white was a good choice. Okay. And we'll let that dry a little. Okay. I think we'll come back here now and work on the flamingo. So what I did, I shaded the flamingo with the antique rose. Okay, so I'm going to pour up another little bit of antique rose. And I did this before I added any feathers or, you know, the bathing suit there. Or maybe actually we can trace off the bathing suit. There now. As long as we don't hit the sand. So we kind of just balance it there and that, and we'll do graphite. I'm going to move my palette out of the way because I don't want to get that into the graphite. And if we can just flip that under, trace off the bikini, we're in business. You could almost take a pencil and draw it in, actually. If you didn't, I just wanted to show you how to trace it in. Now I can barely see it, so I am going to take a pencil and just draw it in. Okay, so the bikini, that side, and that side, okay? Because this portion right here from her neck is her wing, okay? So we'll just add a little bit of a pencil so you can see it, okay? It comes right underneath there as well. So we're going to do a little bit of shadowing on that flamingo with the antique rose. And we're going to use our 1/2-inch faux sable and wet it and dab into the antique rose and blend. And I'm going to come right around her head area because that's it's a little darker than the rest of her feathers. Dab that there. And let's come around. There we go. And I'm going to shade on this side of that bikini, okay, and the underside, right around underneath where the bikini is, bikini top. And shade, and we're using the antique rose. Come around. I can flare off there a bit on that side. Also, right here, do a little shading right down there and up, okay? The beak is going to come there in a moment, okay, once the feathers are placed in more. And so I just kind of took my antique rose and I kind of feathered it using the 1/2-inch faux sable. I'm just kind of making a few choppy strokes there off the feathers, okay? Because once we start using our rake, we're going to really bring them in. Okay, I'm liking this area up here. It's a nice bit of shadow. And her little wing there, holding her martini glass. There you go.
what we're going to do next, I think, is to base coat that bikini. Okay, so it make it look more like we can see where we're going with the feathers. Okay, so I'm going to base coat that bikini lamp black. Of course, it's the polka dot bikini. And I'm going to pour a bit right here on my palette. That's lamp black. And I'm using my 8 flat, and I'm just going to base coat my bikini, okay? And that's just with straight lamp black. Basically using my chisel edge. Okay, that looks a lot better. Okay. Now, we're going to kind of shape her neck a little bit more. So I'm going to use a little bit of that antique rose to make her a little bit of a cheek there. And maybe the lighter pink might be able to see it better. Yeah. And I want it to come around that way. There we go. So I want it to be a little lighter around her neck. Okay. Now she's going to take shape. Righty. Our umbrella is looking good. I think we'll give it another little coat of Red Alert first. And our paint or sand is drying, which is good. Everything is drying well. And you can see how we can move around this piece and kind of just do sections at a time, which is really cool. Okay. Okay. Now I am going to take my pencil, and you could trace it on if you wanted to, but I am going to, because I don't want to lay my tracing paper there, but if you were doing this at home, you'd have a lot more time, okay? And you could take your time, but I am going to trace my eye on here, okay? And the beak comes down over the front, but I'm not going to do that quite yet. Okay, so we're going to use our faux sable rake, and it's a 3/4 inch. Okay, it's a large one, and we're going to make some, first of all, a few of the light pink color feathers, and then we'll make the warm white feathers. Okay, so I wet my brush, and I get another piece of the palette there so you can see what I'm doing. Wet your brush, and you're loading up into your pink color. Okay, you got a lot of water on your brush, and you're going to take it to a clean, dry area, and you're holding it perpendicular to the paper, and I'm twisting. See those bristles as they move around and popping them up at you. I'm going to hold my piece, and I'm going to add a few feathery strokes with this pinkish color that we use, which was the cactus flower or vintage pink. If you had it, you can see I'm just coming around with the light feathery strokes. And this you can't pick this out as much yet because it's just like pink. It almost looks like it fades into the other pink, but it is there, and it gives it a nice extra little bit of fur or hair. Flamingo's got hair, I guess. amazing to see a flamingo so bright and beautiful looking as this. Must be really nice. Okay, so a few there on the bottom, come out over the truck, top of the truck a little bit. Okay, so we'll wet our brush. Now we're going to go with the white, okay, the warm white, and we're going to do the same thing, wet our brush, load into that warm white on both sides, and it's watery, okay? And I'm going to go to a clean area, twist and pop up, okay? Now I'm going to add the white hairs. On her head, it's mainly all pinkish color. So the white, I'm going to get more of that off, and I'm going to twist it again. The white comes down on her neck area and her wing out here, kind of. And I'm just using the half portion of my bristles, but it's fully loaded and it's twisted off, okay? And you're like you're combing the hairs on the flamingo. Okay, I'm gonna bring some down underneath her bikini top there and come down through there a little. And now we're going to go over here. I'm going to add a few. There you go. Okay, so that's looking good. I'm liking the look of that. Rinse our brush. The hat is looking a little see-through-ish, so I'm going to take my small flat and add a little bit more of the mermaid tail to the hat, okay? Because I can see through it a bit, and I want that to be a solid color. Right around, there we go. Okay. Now for the eye, the flamingos, I had a close-up picture and I noticed her eye was very beady, almost like, you know, but I wanted to put eyelashes on this little girl. So I took the very small, you can use your script liner or you can use an even smaller liner. And this one is a one liner brush. And what I did, I loaded into the black and I just kind of went and I added the little black beady eye. Okay. And thin down my black paint with that little tiny liner. And I went around outer portion of the eye. Okay. And with the same brush, I didn't clean my brush. I went into the warm white. And underneath that little beady eye, I added a little bit of white. Okay. And if you lose your eye, you're fine. Because now we'll go back and we'll put it in again. Okay. So load up the black. And let's add that little beady eye. There you go. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to go back to my script liner. That's the brush that I love to use and for doing eyelashes and things. So I am going to water it down, the black, lamp black, water it down and blend it out. And I'm going to add a few little eyelashes to her eyes. There you go. Okay, and with the same dirty brush, I just added at 1 o'clock, I added a little tiny dot for her eye. Okay. I am going to do another shadowing on the flamingo, and I think the fur is dry for us to do that. And we'll use our 1/2-inch faux sable, okay, and wet our brush, and we'll shade with our antique rose just in the areas that we did previously. I want to bring out that under her chin, kind of, without hitting her eye. There we go. Come down there and come down here a little. Underneath that wing portion. There we go. Wet our brush. And shadow underneath that bikini top. And a little, probably underneath there a little, where her other wing kind of goes up there to hold that martini glass. Okay, I think we're looking good. All righty. Now, we're going to put the string in for her bikini before we add the beak, okay? So I'm going to water down my lamp black and with my script liner, and I'm going to bring the string from around there and over here like so, because her beak is going to come down there. I am going to add just 2 little loops with a couple little strings for the back of her bikini, okay? For the dots on the bikini, you can use the end of your script liner and go into the white, and let's just add a little dot here, there. There we go. That's her polka dot bikini. I did go around with a little trim of watered down warm white and kind of separate the, there we go. And that's all I did there. Okay. Let's do her beak. So, and like I say, you can wait for this to dry and then trace it off, but I'm going to kind of, I can see it there. I'm going to make it more defined with my chalk pencil, okay? And I'm going to come down here. Alrighty, she needs to come out a little bit more. There we go. So for her beak, it's a little bit of a gray mixture, and I'm going to use the small 8 flat, I think, for that one. You could use a round if you had it as well, but I like my black gold flats. They got a lot of spring to their bristles, and I like to use that. You can take your warm white and push my palette there so you can see it a little. Okay, take my warm white, add a little bit of black to it, and just off to the side there, make a little mixture of gray. Okay, and I'm going to come in with her beak, and it goes up and swirls that way, comes down. Okay, that's a little too dark for me, so I'm going to go and wash my brush and just go into the warm white and kind of there we go. So a little bit better. Now with our liner, you can use your script liner or use your #1 liner. You're going to go into the black for the tip of her, for the very tip of her beak, okay? There, black first. And I think it's more gray tone, so I will add a little touch of the white to it, just so that it's not so dramatic. The difference. There we go. Okay, little girl. Let's see. Okay, yeah, make it a bit more grayish tone, blacky gray, instead of solid black. Okay. Now, okay, her beak is kind of coming down a little. I got to get that water off. There we go. Come back to her beak in a moment, okay? We'll put her glasses on because her glasses goes on that as well. Okay, so where are we going from here? Let me see. Let's do the umbrella. Okay, it's dry now, so let's do a stencil on the umbrella. I love polka dots, and DecoArt had a beautiful well, the stencil with the letters. It's called Personally Yours, Between the Lines. And when I opened it up for the letters, I said, oh my goodness, they've got a whole section of 5 by 5 lines, zebra markings, you name it. They had a lot of different stencils. So I used this one this morning, was the polka dot one. So I thought that was really cool. I am going to shade my under portion of my umbrella, and you can trace this out, or I'm just going to go by looking at it there, and I'm going to shade that with my black. Okay, that's the under portion of the umbrella. Okay, the underneath of the umbrella. Okay, so we'll lay our polka dot stencil there on our umbrella. And if you don't want to go outside on the black, sometimes what I do is take sticky notes and I'll place it kind of there, and another sticky note right there. Okay, you could, if you do go over it, it doesn't matter because you can just paint it with the black chalky gesso again, but this might make it a little easier for you. Okay, we'll pick up our Stencil Pro again, and that we had wrapped in our tissue, and it should be, it's still not wet. Okay, so we're going to go into our warm white again and take our dry paper towel and we'll squeeze it off in between. Okay, and we'll go to the right, we'll go to the left, go to the right, we'll go to the left, and we're only doing the upper or the outside of our umbrella. Perfect. Take off our sticky notes and perfect. Voila, there it is. So that's our umbrella. Now, I think we're finished with our Stencil Pro, but if you want to, until you're really completely finished, you can just wrap it into that damp paper towel and leave it there in case we need it again. Okay, so here we are. I think I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow on that umbrella, okay, on the upper top portion. And I'm just going to use my 3/4 or 1/2 inch faux sable. And I'm just going to give that a little bit of a shade there, okay, on top. And if you want to make your underneath your umbrella a little bit more darker of a shadow, you can. Now's the time to do it, okay? And we'll leave it like that. I'm going to take my script liner and I'm going to add a white trim around the umbrella. So I'm going to water down that warm white and come around the very edge with a trim, okay? And I'll come around, okay? You do that before you add that post in there, okay? The post for the umbrella is done with soft black and a little bit of white. So we're just using soft black. And I'm not using it watered down like I did. Okay, I'm just going right into it with my script liner and touching, swiping through the warm white. And I'm just going to add right there, and I'm going to come down into that sand. Okay, and I'm going to leave it. That's done. Okay. Okay, Miss Flamingo. Let me see. The truck is blending in there a little bit too much, I think. So I want a separation here. So I'm going to add a little bit of the lamp black that was underneath there. So I shouldn't have covered that in. Separate. There you go. To get the curve off her neck, okay? Alrighty, and I think I'll make her nose a little, see what happens when you don't really trace it out and that you make a couple boo-boos. But they can be easily fixed. Okay, I'll leave that like that. And now I'm going to add that white with the black to make a gray top portion again off that. There we go. Let me come around. Yeah, that looks more of a nicer shape. You need it a little bit more gray toned. I love to mix my colors that I have on my palette. I mean, you can always use a gray storm or a probably a zinc color or whatever, but it's so much nicer to play with your colors. Okay, we're going to make that down here a little darker. There we go. Now she's looking like a nice girl. Okay, let that dry a little there now. I think above that section of her lower beak and her upper beak, there was a little bit of a lighter. Now I've got too much water on my paint there. I'm just going to dab it off a little. It's a little bit of a light section there. Okay, we'll leave that there, and when we shade, once it dries, that'll come into play. Okay, she's looking pretty. For the hat section also, we're going to use a midnight green or a black green. If you have a black green, it's fine, but I like the midnight green. It's a more softer green, and we'll use that for shading under her underside of her hat, because it's a really nice big floppy hat. I'm going to wear one of those when I get to a beach. And they're going to say, that woman has been down there, the big floppy hat on and her black and white bikini on, and she hasn't moved for 2 weeks. Well, that's going to be me. I can guarantee you, especially this year. Okay, so we're going to shade with our midnight green. There we go. That's the underside of the hat. Make it a bit more floppy. You can see the green color there coming out and under there. And there you go. So that's the top portion of the hat. And I'm going to add a little bit more mermaid tail just to bring down over her head a little bit more. There you go. Okay, I'm happy with that. Well, we're doing really well. The only thing, okay, what we'll do next, because our umbrella is complete, so we'll do our palm tree, which I'm going to place right here. Okay, and it's on a bend. Okay, so that's our palm tree. It's the trunk goes to almost a point, and it comes out a bit wider. Okay, so down here, and it's over her wing a little bit, and that's fine. I'm also going to draw in her flip-flops. Okay, so you can trace those in. You don't have to be stuck with that, okay, or just to freehand it. You can trace it in. Okay, I think I'm going to come over here a little bit more, okay, and I can always touch this up with a little bit of lamp black for in here, because that's what I did. So you're never stuck. Don't feel you're stuck with your drawings. Okay. I'm going to move this over a little bit just so that the flip-flops give them more room. Okay, so kind of over that way and down here. Okay, so we're going to use our 8 flat, and we're going to load up with the soft black. And try to get my palette in. There we go. A little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to pour up a new palette. That's what I'm going to do. I'll leave that one aside for now, and then you can probably see me loading up a little bit better. Okay, we're going to use soft black, and we're going to use a little bit of that metallic rich espresso. And we're going to add a little bit of warm white. Okay. So I'm going to load up my black, and I'm going to go into my white. Just swipe it in there. Okay. I'm going to go with my trunk, and I'm just going to go straight up and out on chisel edge. Okay. There you go. I went right out on my chisel edge. I'm going to go back with the black, soft black a little bit there. And I'm going to load up with the soft black, corner into the rich espresso. And I'm just going to add that to my palm tree. I'm just going to crossways, bending it ever so lightly. to make it look like the trunk of the tree, okay? I'm also going to corner on that dirty brush into the white and push down. I'm starting on the left-hand side of the trunk, and I'm working going to the right-hand side, okay? At this point, we'll just leave the trunk because we may want to add a little bit of black, lamp black here and there. And actually we can do that a little bit now. And this is lamp black, not the soft black. Okay, the soft black got hints of the like a licorice into it. Okay, so we're going to corner into the lamp black. There we go. And it's just toning down that white section, making our palm tree look like it's got little ridges on it. Okay, so that's the deal. Now go back into the rich espresso here and there and add that to the trunk as well. Okay, you're going to omit this line, that graphite line. We're going to get rid of that. I may have my eraser there. If not, I'm going to see if we can get it out with a little bit of the water. That's why I like to use chalk, you know, the real chalk instead of, oh no, it worked. What do you know? Perfect. It worked. Got rid of that line there. Okay. Now, on the top of that palm tree, I'm going to move it down so I can show you. You're going to make the branches. And I'm just going to show you mine here again now. So this was our trunk, right? This was our trunk. The branches are the spine of the branches. They go like a star, okay? And I'm going to show you how you put them in. I'm going, so I can see it on my black surface. I'm just going to go with the soft black, watered down, and a little bit of the white to make like a off color. Okay, so we'll start on that very tip of the trunk, and I'm going to bring one branch down and this way, and one up that way, one that way, and maybe another one down that way. Okay. Excuse me. And this is probably the little one there. Okay, so we're going to start over here at 1 o'clock first. Okay, and go around the clock. We're going to use our midnight green, and I'm going to pour that on my palette. Here we go. And our warm white, and we already have our warm white on our palette. Okay, so we're going to use our 3/4 faux sable, and we're going to water our brush down, and we're going to fully load into that. Show me here now. Fully load into that midnight green. Take it to a separate spot, perpendicular to your paper, and twist that brush around. Okay. I'm going to go to this branch here, and I'm going to start, and I'm going to bring out. Now, right now, you can't see those branches, or you can a little bit. It looks light on the camera. I'm going to go into the white with that dirty brush and twist, and now I'm going to add the white branches to the palm tree. Okay, there you go. Now our other one is down here. So we'll go into the dark green. And sometimes you don't need to water down your paint. Okay. You just need to go into your dark green and okay, maybe we will. We'll water it down. Probably might come a little clear. Load into that dark green, midnight green, twist, and let's do this one. Yeah, shows up a bit better. I'm going on either side of that branch, okay? I'm going to turn my piece around and do the same thing. Load up my midnight green and come down on either side of the branch and load into that white, and there you go. You're making your palm branches. Okay, so now we're working around. We're doing our one that's going to come over that umbrella with the midnight green. And then touch into that white and back into the green again. If it gets too white, just go back into your midnight green. Okay, we're going to wet our brush again and go into our midnight green, perpendicular on our piece, on our palette. And let's bring out those branches. And go all the way around. So they're all done separately. Okay, all the branches are done separately. And they're mainly green for now. And when that dries a little, we'll add the white highlights and that'll bring it out. Okay, a bit more. I'm liking my trunk. I'm liking my tree, my umbrella. Okay, let's base coat those flip-flops. I use the Mermaid Tail. Okay. And if you use, because it matched my hat, so I thought I'll use the Mermaid Tail. Peacock Teal is another really nice color as well, so you can use either or, whatever you like the best. Okay, so I'm going to take my small round brush, and I can find him. Here he is. Oh. In my water. Usually it's in my water. Okay, don't hide on me. There you are. Oh, no. Let's see. Oh, you're hiding. There you go. It hides underneath the other brushes. Okay, so we're going to do our flip-flops. We're going to base coat them. You can use a small flat. I'm using this liner in the shape of a flat, actually. Just base coating flip-flops. We're going to add more sand to the flip-flops over them on the bottom to make them look like they're in the, you know, in the sand in the truck. And same thing for our pole and our tree. That's going to be our last thing we'll do there. Okay, so that's base coated. For the brim of my hat, I'm going to highlight it with the warm white. So we dab our corner into our warm white, and I'm just going to start here and I'm going to give it a nice little highlight. Okay, it's a little too much. I just went with my water and wipe it off as I'm going along. There we go. Okay, now for the Margarita Glass, let's do a little pink margarita. Okay, we'll go into the Antique Rose and we'll shade the inside of the glass because that's a clear glass that we base coated white. Okay, so I'm going to corner into my Antique Rose, blend it out a little bit, and I'm going to go underneath that opening and shade with a little bit of Antique Rose and come down here. Okay. The inside of the cup, this portion right here, I'm going to very lightly shade with a little bit of lamp black. There we go. Perfect. And while I got the lamp black on my brush, I'm just going to add a little bit of a shadow to the midsection of the margarita. Okay. With the chisel edge and black, I just went down with the stem also. The umbrella is sticking out of the margarita, and there's a line. Okay. You can see the line on this piece right here. You can see right here the line. Okay. So we'll do that next, and the umbrella. Okay. A little additives while we're waiting a little bit for things to dry. So we're going to add warm white to our liner, and let's just add that line like it's coming out of the cup. Okay. I'm then going to take my margarita. Okay. You can use olive green if you have it, or any light green. And that's what we're going to use for our green rim on our line. Okay. So I just went around the very edge with that margarita color. Perfect. The little umbrella, I'm going to, I use red on my piece. I think I'm going to use antique rose because I am liking that color so much. And the umbrella, and like I say, you can trace it. Nope, not going to see it very well because we're going to have the base coat it first with the white. Okay, just a little umbrella, a few little sticks sticking out of it there, and there you go. Okay, let that dry, and we can add that another color. The top portion of our hat, I'm going to do that next. That's a quick little tidbit that looks really cool. Okay, while we're waiting on this to dry, this is a really nice piece for doing sections, because I'm waiting, as you're finishing up here, you can let things dry and just then go to it again. And I am liking my rich espresso and my glorious gold and my sand. It just gives it another little bit of texture. So for the top portion of the hat, okay, I'm going to do a leaf, a few leaves, and a few little flowers. You can see here that a few little leaves on top of the hat, and there's a few little impressionistic flowers there on top. And this is really cool. It's not a hard thing to do, but I'm going to just give you a little tidbit on what to do. We're going to use antique green, and I'm going to use the glorious gold. You could use white. I like gold in my leaves as well, so we can do both, maybe a little bit of glorious gold and a little bit of warm white. Okay. Now I'm going to use my 8 flat, okay, for the top of my florals on top of my hat. And I'm going to load up with the antique green on both sides. And you can see me here loading it up. Corner into that glorious gold, okay? And I'm going to go to the top portion of my hat, and I'm going to push. Just add a few little leaves as I'm turning around. And the gold is looking nice. Adding a few leaves. one load would be enough for to do the whole section. I am going to corner load into the white too, just to show you the difference. There you go. So I'm just adding little touches of leaves very lightly on top of her hat. Okay, now we'll let that dry out a little bit. I'm thinking I'm going to paint my umbrella red. This in my glass, okay? Going to just put a little bit of red alert there and make sure there's not a lot of water on your brush. And let's base coat that little umbrella. It's a little bit of red alert, okay? I am going to shadow in that glass. I want my margarita to be a little bit more pinkish. So I'm giving it another little shadow. There we go. There, that's more like a margarita. And of course, we can add a few little bubbles to the top of it there. Okay. I am going to shade the rim of the line with the antique green. Okay, I'm just going to corner ever so slightly just to deepen it so it's not so. There we go. It's pretty. Just shade that a little bit. So now I'm here to my beak again. And let's see now. I'm going to hold my own up here a little bit, and we're going to put in the glasses. But first of all, I want to shade the mouth area. Okay, so we're going to shade that with a little bit of lamp black. And I don't want a lot there. I just want to shade on the lower portion of the mouth. Comes up a little, and the nose part goes there as well. Okay. I am going to shade a little bit of antique rose on top of the nose a little bit more before I, with the liner, I am going to shape it in a little. And with lamp black, of course, and very fine line. We don't want no thick lines. There we go. Okay, and that's the mouth portion. It's good. Okay, come down here a little to shape it. Okay, the sunglasses are right on the nose area. So with lamp black, we'll make a line across and one. There we go. Okay, that's for the glasses. A little bit of water there that I've got to dab. There we go. Okay, so the glasses are see-through, of course, but I'm going to make them a little foggier, probably with my 8 flat. And just kind of blend it out a little bit and go on the inside of the glasses. There we go. That's looking good. Okay. Miss Pelican. Okay, we're going to do her flowers there too once the leaves seem to dry a little bit. Okay, so on the glasses, you can use a stylus if you have one at hand. I'm just using my pencil, and there's some little dots on either end of the glasses, okay? And my bottom portion of the glasses have faded a little when we shade it. So I'm just going to kind of bring them in. There you go. Perfect. Now I can see that. Okay, so for the little bit of red and pink flowers on top there, I just used my corner of my 1/2" faux sable into the red first, and I just smashed a little bit of flowers there with the corner. Took the antique rose on top of that, and I just kind of went there. And with the white, warm white, I did the same thing. Oh my goodness, the water is dripping off there. Yeah, got to dry that off. There we go. My brush had too much water on it. Let me get some more paper towels there now too, because they're soaking. So we went to the red. There we go. And I went into the pink. Probably the cactus flowers a little bit lighter if you want to. And make sure your handles are dried off, because it'll drip on your piece. And then I lastly went with white. There you go. And that's just a little bit of a floral on top of her hat. Okay. I am going to outline the brim of her hat in lamp black. Okay, and now I'm going to add a little bit of the white branches, the highlight branches, with my rake, my 3/4 faux sable, and I'm loading my white, my warm white, and I'm twisting it on my palette. And now I'm going to go around again with a few lighter highlight branches, okay? And you don't need a lot of these, just a few to bring in a highlight. And I'm going on either side of my palm tree. Okay, now you can see it a bit better. There you go. So that's done. Okay, let's go down to the flip-flops. I'm going to shade with the midnight green. And I'm just going to add a shading on the left-hand side. Okay. The left-hand side of your flip-flop. Okay. Now I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to add the straps on the flip-flop with white, and I started right there and I came down. Right there and I came down. Okay. You're just adding little, make it look like there's little beads for the strap on the flip-flop. Okay, and the center one, I believe I did in a red. We may have to wait for that to dry. No, we're good. Okay, so right here in this sand that's in your back of your truck, We want it to make it look like it's dug in, okay? And like the flip-flops are kind of standing up in that sand, okay? So we're going to go with our rich espresso. And now we'll probably use our 8 flat and just go into the rich espresso and kind of dab, make it look like it's sunken down into the sand. See that? Okay, on top of that, I'm going to touch into the Glorious Gold. And go over that, make it look like it's dug right into the sand. Okay. I added a few little dots. You can add those with the gold or with the white, is your choice, whichever, to make it look like there's sand or pieces of shells or whatever in the back of the truck. So I'm just going to take a little look now. I'm going to look at my eye. My eye looks good. We've got the pupil in it and it's looking really good. I'd like to see a little bit of a shade on that portion of the inner portion of the hat. So I'll go with the midnight green again and come around because that's a shade area there. And same thing here. Okay, perfect. I am going to need a little bit of a shadow with Antique Rose where the beak lays down on her feathers. Okay. So we're going to blend that out like right around here because she's got her head turned around. There we go. I feel better with that. Now you're never stuck with this. Like, you know, you could get up in the morning, you could say, oh, I think I'll add something else to it, or I'll, you know, you're never stuck with it. But basically, I think our beach and bust is doing pretty good. I'm just going to add the little things on the umbrella. Okay, a little bit on the center there. And there we go. I'm just going to sign my piece in the bottom right-hand corner with watered down warm white. And I love using a script liner for that. Okay, well, I think we're pretty good here. I'm just looking at my original. We've got our shades done. Our sand is looking really nice. Once our sand dries thoroughly, if you want to shadow a little bit there for where it sinks down inside the truck, it's fine. That would be good. And same thing up here. I'm going to shade a little bit more of the Antique Rose there because the hat is kind of, and the part of the face, just to separate that. Okay, I sometimes use for dry brushing my Stencil Pro 2 once I've used it and I haven't wet it, and I wipe it on a really dry paper towel. I'll go to my hub and I'll just kind of add a little dry brushing here and there. A little bit here on the very tip, a little bit here. Okay, and I think there's enough highlight on our hat area, but anywhere where you want to see a little bit of a highlight, you certainly could do it. Okay, if you wanted to add a few more darker branches, you could with the midnight green and a little bit of black, and this time with your liner, you know, kind of bring in a few branches if you feel that it's too late. Although I'm liking that. It's kind of looking nice with the hat and the
Anytime. Well, that's our Beat Your Bust, and I hope you enjoyed painting with me. I certainly did. I really enjoyed painting with my Dynasty brushes and the DecoArt Pretty Pinks. Take care, and I hope you enjoyed it.